Hi, this is Christian, and welcome to NFL Updates Express, your weekly dose of NFL news. Coming your way, Super Bowl predictions.
The Seattle Seahawks were a great team this year, with an incredible 13-3 record and a powerful run through the playoffs with victories over the 49ers and the Saints. Now, we'll see if they can pull it off against the Broncos here in the Super Bowl in New York City. But for now, let's look at their team's season review. They had some fresh talent like Percy Harvin, and even though he was injured most of the year, when he was on the playing field, cornerbacks had to watch out. Now, of course, there's also Russell Wilson, who was running, he was throwing, he was otherwise really helping the Seahawks to get the record they have today. With an amazing defense including Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas, you could see why they made this amazing run, and Marshawn Lynch was just the icing on the cake. That's why the Seahawks made it to where they are now.
The 2013 season of the Denver Broncos was a great one, as they won the AFC Championship and are now playing in Super Bowl 48. Peyton Manning led the way, throwing to amazing targets like Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, Julius Thomas, and Wes Welker. Peyton Manning broke all sorts of records with 55 passing touchdowns and just an amazing sort through the air. The defense improved a little bit for the Denver Broncos and should play a big factor in the Super Bowl. The Broncos only lost to 3 teams, the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Colts, and finished with a 13-3 record on the season.
It's a great showdown in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It's the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos showing off for the Lombardi Trophy. Now, this one is really going to come down to the wire. Whereas in previous years you could kind of tell who's going to win, this one is a blind shot. You never know who could pull this one off. Now, there's one name we can't go without mentioning, and that's Peyton Manning. The Broncos used to be awful. When he came along, they suddenly were probably the greatest team in the AFC. The Seahawks, on the other hand, weren't great as well, and then with the addition of Russell Wilson and a couple defensive add-ons, they became another playoff contender, and we see where that has taken them. They are in the Super Bowl, and here's what I have to say about that. I think that the Seahawks will lose, unfortunately, but it will be a lot closer than people expect. Marshawn Lynch, if he has a good day, well, then he will definitely be a big factor, and that could really pull it off for the Seattle Seahawks. On the other hand, we've got so many great receivers for the Broncos. I mean, all in all, if you put them side by side with their statistics, the Seahawks just can't stack up. So I say Broncos win.
It's a great matchup here between the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos. It's the number 1 offense versus the number 1 defense. You start out with the Seahawks, who just a few years ago went 7-9, and now look where they are now, 13-3 and in the Super Bowl. On the other hand, you have the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning, Knowshon Moreno, and their amazing cast of receivers. The Broncos are unstoppable on offense, and it will be hard to stop them even with the number 1 defense in Seattle. Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas will be sure to get their hands on the football and maybe make a game-changing play. The Denver Broncos are amazing, and so are the Seahawks. But I think the Denver Broncos come out on top of this one in a close one that comes down to the very last drive of the game.
Hi, this is Brett, and I'm guest starring on NFL Updates Express. It's a great match in New Jersey, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Denver Broncos. A tough defense versus a great offense. It's going to be a great matchup. The Seattle Seahawks have the likes of Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman on defense, but the Broncos have Demaryius Thomas and Peyton Manning on offense. It's going to be a close match, but I think the Denver Broncos will come out on top.
Seahawks, Broncos, those are the 2 lucky teams to have made the Super Bowl this year. I think that the Seahawks are going to go over the Broncos, disagreeing with my fellow 3 friends, 24-20. Marshawn Lynch is going to have a huge day as he runs through the Broncos linebackers, and Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas are going to have a great day as they each will nab 1 interception in this great game.
the player that comes through in the clutch? The Super Bowl. Well, I think that the chosen one for the Seahawks will be wide receiver Doug Baldwin. He had an amazing game, over 100 yards against the San Francisco 49ers. And I think he could continue that against the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. With either being matched up with Champ Bailey or Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, this will be a great game for Doug Baldwin. For the Broncos, I'm going to have to say Eric Decker continuing the wide receiver trend here. Eric Decker will not have as much attention with Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, and Wes Welker also manning some attention. And all the Denver weapons, Eric Decker will be the one getting free. And I believe that Eric Decker will catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and the Broncos will have a great day with Eric Decker.
My chosen one is probably someone you've never heard of, and that's the starting fullback for the Seattle Seahawks, Michael Robinson. Now, most people think it's just going to be going to Marshawn, and trust me, it'll be going to him a lot. But what I think is that Russell Wilson may run a couple tricks to get the defense off guard and do a handoff or a screen to Michael Robinson. Marshawn Lynch is alright at blocking, so you may see an open lane for Robinson, and he may get a solid gain. Watch for him in the Super Bowl and a couple other trick plays up the sleeves of the Seattle Seahawks.
My chosen one is Monte Ball. Although Noshawn Moreno is getting some attention, I think Monte Ball will carry the ball a little more than people expect. Monte Ball is a solid rookie out of Wisconsin, and I think he's done better than most people expect.
My surprise pick is someone for the Seahawks by the name of Bobby Wagner. We all know Peyton Manning isn't the most nimble quarterback, so I think that he'll get a few sacks and plenty of tackles as he will lead his team to victory.
It was new, it was unconference, it was the 2014 Pro Bowl in Hawaii, with Team Jerry Rice coming out on top over Team Deion Sanders by the score of 22-21. And it was a great game with teammates tackling teammates, and Mike Tolbert running in for the 2-point conversion to give Team Rice a close victory over Sanders 22-21. Well, there's not much new, surprisingly, for Super Bowl week, besides the fact that there is the Super Bowl, but one thing is that Richard Sherman is calling out Peyton Manning for throwing ducks. Well, Peyton Manning has thrown some jump balls, but that you should not disrespect one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Also, running back Marshawn Lynch is being criticized for not talking to the media. And our poll question of the week is, do you think Marshawn Lynch should be fined for not talking to the media during Media Day and Media Week in the Super Bowl? Let us know in the comments box down below or the poll question in the description.